What is going on, everybody? I am back today to do another album review. If you can't tell from my Ethel Cain video that I did recently, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a lot of fun. And as I said in that video, I have a lot of elements to my personality that I feel like in creating a YouTube channel, I wanted an ability to be able to share more than just my love for film because I'm a huge fan of art in general, and music has impacted my life equally as much as film has. Arguably, music came into my life in a very passionate way prior to my love for film. I've always loved movies, but I feel like my love for music came even at a much earlier age. And so I thought it would be fun to incorporate maybe every week or every other week a review of an album that I love. I'm not going to just go around to every single record. I really want to focus on music that I really love and appreciate as a way to share it with you guys so that maybe you can listen to something you've never heard before, maybe expand your musical horizons, because that's something that even in my early 30s that I'm trying to do. When I was a young kid, I really was focused a lot on just straight up like rock and roll, indie rock, pretty much all I listened to in my youth. And now I'm trying to grow my music tastes even in my adulthood. I try to listen to as much music as I can. And I just think it's fun to share music and film with people. And today, the album I'm going to be talking about is arguably one of the most important albums to me ever now, and it's only been out for 3 years. It came out in 2020. It has so deeply impacted my life in a way that I couldn't imagine an album impacting my life. Every time I revisit it, I feel like I just get more out of it, and this is arguably one of my favorite artists working today. And the album and the artist I'm going to be talking about today is the record Punisher from the artist Phoebe Bridgers. So Phoebe Bridgers is an indie folk acoustic rock artist from Los Angeles, California, and she's been working in the industry for a while now. And her first record is called Stranger in the Alps. And I remember when I heard Stranger in the Alps for the first time, about a month or so after it was first released, I saw someone post the album artwork online, which if you've never seen the album art before, it's one of her childhood photos that someone has drawn a ghost over top of her. It's a really unique album cover. And I remember listening to that record for the first time and just feeling like I'd never heard anything like it before. Phoebe has one of the most unique and haunting voices in music. There's something about her vocal delivery that is so unlike any artist working now. There's a way that she's able to change her vocal tone that is just so incredibly impressive. And the other thing about that record that really pulled me in was the lyricism on the album, because she talks about a lot of very hard-hitting subject matter. Her songs can often be depressing. They can be about abusive relationships. They can be about personal struggle. There's all these different elements in play on her record. But what I loved so much about her record was the way that she was able to incorporate comedy in it. There's almost this dark humor laced throughout all of her songs that I feel like make them feel very real. There's so many artists who can write about overcoming, difficult issues and struggles that can do it in a very, just straightforward way that pulls at your heartstrings, but it takes a very special kind of artist to be able to incorporate humor in those situations, because life is incredibly complex and life is very difficult. And I think what is so beautiful about Phoebe's songwriting is that she is able to convey a multitude of emotions throughout the span of one song that just make you feel a lot of different things. And so I was really impressed when that album came out. And in 2020, she released her follow-up record, Punisher, which was a very difficult year for people to release albums because the COVID pandemic had really just started. Lockdown was happening. If you were an artist and releasing a record in 2020, you knew you weren't going to get to tour it. Doing publicity for it was going to be hard, but Phoebe kind of handled it the best way an artist could. She did all these live stream shows from her bedroom. Like, she did all these really creative things. She even released a merch line where I have a t-shirt of hers that it's like the Phoebe Bridgers like living room tour or something, and on the back it has like all the different rooms in her house. It really just creative and playful. I remember I was working in a restaurant job job in 2020, and I had to go to work every day during the pandemic. And it was really hard because you feel a lot of emotions. You're nervous, obviously, every day because we weren't very certain as to what this illness was. We weren't 100% sure early on what it could do to people long term. And so I'm going in every day wearing a mask, trying to be as safe as possible. But it really was unsettling and uncomfortable every day, and then having a staff that you have to make sure is taken care of and make sure that their health isn't compromised. And so there's a wide array of emotions going on for me. So I remember the day this album came out, and I was at work, and I was able to listen to the record while I was at work, and I think I played this through probably 11 or 12 times in a row while I was at work. Just any moment that I had the opportunity to listen to it when I wasn't personally interacting with a customer, I was playing this album. And the main reason this album has impacted me so much is from the title track song Punisher, which, if you are unfamiliar with the record, Punisher is a song that Phoebe Bridgers essentially wrote as a love letter to one of her favorite artists, Elliott Smith. And the lyricism in the song is so poignant and beautiful. And essentially, it talks about his life a little bit, but it also talks about being someone who loves an artist's music and feels a very strong connection to an artist through the lyrics that they write, and wanting to know that person, but also having a fear of knowing that person, and knowing that despite understanding their art and what they write in their songs, you don't necessarily know that person at all. And I think for someone like me, music has played a very important role in my life. I have had a lot of bands and artists and songwriters throughout my life that have impacted me on a personal level to where they feel like family. Even if I've never met them in my entire life, those people feel like family because you spend so much time with their music and through their vulnerability in a way that it feels like you're glimpsing into someone's life even if you don't know them. And I think it's really hard because sometimes you go to shows and you'll see these people in person, and you feel a really deep connection with those people, but you've never met them before. They don't know you, and you don't really know them. And it's such a complex dynamic. And I think that even exists in film with the way that you can attach to a director's work or with an actor's work. And I think the way Phoebe is able to spell that out in the title track is just so beautiful. The way that she paints a portrait with lyrics talking about an artist that meant that much to her through Elliott Smith, just, it's so relatable and it's so realistic. And every time I revisit it, it just impacts me more every time I hear it. And there's a ton of songs on this record outside of Punisher that have really impacted me a lot. She writes about damaged relationships. She writes about her relationship with her dad on this record. Existential dread plays a really heavy role on this album as well. There's a song about friendship on this record in Graceland 2. There's so many tracks that cover a multitude of emotions. And I think I Know the End, which is the closing track on the record, really kind of sums up 2020 perfectly. It really just looks at that idea of existential dread and the fear of the end, and then like acceptance of the end. And it's just so beautifully written, and Phoebe screaming at the end of the record just really kind of nails it home for me. And every time I revisit this record, I just find something new to appreciate about it. I mean, Phoebe fits inside this one genre, but what's so impressive to me is that inside of this genre, she's able to create a multitude of songs that have such unique styles and such unique instrumentation. And I think the way the instrumentation pairs with her vocals is so incredibly impressive. And this is just one of the most beautiful albums ever made. And it's so cool to see Phoebe kind of blow up as an artist. I remember the first time I saw her, which is where I got the shirt that I'm wearing, was the first ever tour that she did for her record Stranger in the Alps. And she called it the farewell tour, which kind of plays into her dark sense of humor, which I really like. And I was in a room with about 250 people, and it was such a deeply moving and beautiful experience to see Phoebe play those songs live, and the level of passion that she puts into every single track is just, it's unparalleled, really. And I was so deeply moved by that, and I was very excited to get to see her again. And I was able to see her a little while later with Conor Oberst for the band Better Oblivion Community Center. But the next time I saw Phoebe doing a solo performance, I was at an outdoor venue that was about 4 times the size of that. And to just kind of see her trajectory and then what she's done with Boygenius with Julien Baker and Lucy Dacus is impressive, and I think she deserves every bit of success that is coming her way. She has worked so hard in her music to create relatable music that I feel like, what's really interesting is we're seeing this resurgence of like singer-songwriter music that's affiliated with like the indie genre, where people are seeming to gravitate more in the mainstream towards deeply personal lyrics and vulnerable lyrics. And I'm glad that people are going in that type of a direction. And I think Phoebe is really at the forefront of that, and I will continue to support her as an artist, keep listening to her music for years and years to come. I have a tattoo of a combination of Phoebe's albums on my arm. It's a tarot card that has her in a skeleton costume with the ghost from Stranger in the Alps, and the tarot card is labeled The Punisher. Her music has just really impacted me in a way that not a lot of other artists have, and if you've never listened to Phoebe's music before, I implore you to go listen right away. It's just some of the most beautiful music ever made. So if you listen to Punisher from Phoebe Bridgers, do you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. I think that Phoebe is just such an incredibly talented singer and songwriter, and I will continue to support her music for years to come. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. Like me doing an album review. I really appreciate the feedback, and I always look forward to hearing if you guys are enjoying the new content. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.